Hello, everybody, and welcome to our fantastic webinar number 2. Thank you so much for all joining us. We're hoping that you were able to join us on our first webinar last week, and we've had an amazing response with so many amazing questions coming from all of you that we just figured we had to do a second one. So welcome back, and thanks for joining us. It's an absolute pleasure to welcome back Daniella Remy again to this webinar. And first of all, again, thank you so much for joining us last week. Thank you so much for joining us this week. This really is for your benefit, these webinars. So thanks again for all the questions that have come in. We're going to be doing our very, very best to get through all these questions again tonight. And just to remind all of you guys about PH360 and what we're all about here. And our mission is a large mission, and we're looking at changing world health. And PH360 is a system that we've spent over 10 years with leading scientists and medical doctors, physicians from around the world designing to be able to find a way that we can quantify or measure gene expression, which is measuring you as you are right now. And when we can measure you, we can know a lot about you. We can know a lot about the things that influence your life in a positive manner to be able to help you with your health, help you try and avoid disease and prevent any issues that may be coming in the future, and really operate to have you maximize and operate at your highest possible vibration. So we really are a very purpose-driven organization that we really appreciate the support and helping you so that you can help others with their personal health journey and to share these amazing things that we now have and these tools that we have like PH360 that can really help people change their lives and really function from a place of health and happiness. So we really encourage you guys to share this with your family and friends that are suffering or may need this as you go. And we really welcome so many questions so that we can really work with you to improve your health in so many different ways. So thank you so much again for joining us. We'll go through a lot of different questions today. Foods has been such a huge, overwhelming topic of conversation that we're really going to spend a lot of time on this today, and we're so excited to be able to have Daniella join us again. So just want to welcome Daniella Remy. Daniella is a VP of Research with PH360. It's fantastic to have her on board again. For those that didn't join us last week, she spent a good hour and a half going through so many different questions, and we actually logged in live to PH360 profiles for some users, and we can do the same again tonight. So send your questions through to personalquestions@ph360.me if you have some. Any technical issues, anything at all that goes on, support@ph360.me is the place for that. And of course, encourage you guys to join our Facebook group, which is a really wealth of experience, a wealth of sharing, inspiration and support that's there. And I know a lot of people have really appreciated the support by many other amazing members in that group. So go ahead and join that. If you haven't already, there should be plenty of links in your email for that. And we are going to jump straight into this. So Daniella, I'd love to welcome you to webinar number 2. Daniella's a trained educator with a Master of Science in Human Development. She specializes in research methods, statistical analysis for PH360. She's really been working with the brains behind PH360, the science behind PH360 for the past decade. And as a research and data analyst, she's really been responsible for compiling a lot of everything into the algorithm that you see, a lot of the results that you find. She speaks 4 different languages. She's fluent in French, in German, in English and Italian. So she knows what she's talking about in many different languages. And she really is the genius that interprets the medical team and the medical information and brings that into the life that you see as PH360 today. So Daniella, welcome, and thanks so much for joining us again today.
Hi, Matt, and thank you for inviting me again.
It's great to have you on the call, and I know we tapped into your brain quite significantly last time. We're going to do the same again tonight. I'd love, just for the listeners that weren't able to join us last week, and maybe even for some of the listeners joining again that would love to hear just about what is PH360 in your words. How would you describe that to people from your perspective?
Okay, I got to try to remember the words I used last week, but they'll always be changing, just like my diet and my spices that I put in my foods, always the different ones. But the way I see PH360 is a algorithm that uses many, many layers of facts that we find, that we've had put together from our scientists and researchers. And what it does is it looks at some of the factors that we see are significantly important for predictors of what are our current and future states of health. And this predictive algorithm that we've created is based on our phenotype, which is the combination of our genotype, who we are genetically, as well as our environment. Put these things together, and we end up having our phenotype. And it predicts our phenotype and its interaction with the environment in which we are. So that's essentially what PH360 is, and that allows us to know what kind of foods are healthy for us, or what's the right environment for us, or how our state of mind works based on the functions of hormones and neurotransmitters, and basically things that are very typical for our unique bodies.
Okay, fantastic. I think that's a very good answer from the Daniela realm. So thanks again for sharing that. And it really is so much. And the beauty of these webinars is that for people listening in now, whether you're listening live or whether you're dialing in, we're going to have these as replays that you can listen to. And so if we cover a lot of content, which we will, we won't apologize for that. If Daniela and myself both talk quite quickly, we won't apologize for that, because we both do. And we've got so much to get through that it's a good way we can get through the conversation, and you guys can listen back to anything that you want to go over one more time in your leisure. So we are going to jump straight in, Daniela, and we've got a number of different questions I'd like to go through from people emailing them in, from Basecamp, from other questions from the last webinar that came in that we'd like to answer as well. And so we're just going to go through some of those, and then we'll go ahead and pull up some profiles, because people found that really fascinating last time, to be able to see how different other people's profiles are, and to be able to have your genius just come in and actually explain, you know, those sorts of the processes for us that we can see live on the screen. So we've got a question here to kick off the ranks: egg whites versus yolks. Now, this has been a question that's been thrown around with lots of different people. The most interesting thing about PH360 is because it's so pioneering and combines so many different sciences, it really is hard to understand when we've come from a place of what we've learned. And this has been the same for me as well. My background, when I was trained in certain modalities, you learn what you're trained in, and you see the world through those eyes. And so it's only when you start to become exposed to a lot more different variety of sources, variety of information, and you can really understand how it all pieces together, that things start to make some more sense. So I'd love to just, with that context in mind, just if you can talk us through, why egg whites and not yolks, and how that might actually look.
Sure. And I knew this question was going to come up. I was given a little heads up. And so I was able to get some nutritional information that would really satisfy those curious minds out there. A lot of people are thinking that we are saying eat egg whites and not egg yolks. That's not what PH360 does. Everything is very unique for the individual people. Some people might have 5 smileys for eggs, both of them egg yolk and egg whites. Other people might have a little bit less of the egg yolks, and it really is personalized. One of the things that is important to know is, even though an egg is a very whole food, there's a huge difference in the properties of the yolk versus the white. And so we do have to consider those as 2 different entities, because they can be separated. They are part of nutritional diets. And it's important to understand why these might be separated. So I've gone and gotten some nutritional information that we're using in the algorithm, but this way the scientific curiosity can be satisfied. So one of the things that is very important to know is that a healthy person can eat about 300 milligrams of cholesterol a day. That is a recommended dose by the FDA. Persons who have high cholesterol, and this is where people think it's debunked, that egg yolks are not very good for cholesterol, is something very old that was debunked. It still applies as to doses. A person who is high in cholesterol, LDL cholesterol, so bad cholesterol, should have no more than 200 milligrams of cholesterol per day. So the dose is reduced. This is from the FDA. So these are just standards about what we need in our system to be able to function. An egg yolk specifically is full of cholesterol and has 213 milligrams of cholesterol a day. So you have to consider the fact that we shouldn't be having 3 egg omelets every single day. Would be exaggerating the dose of cholesterol we'd be having. And although a healthy person can handle that, somebody who has cardiovascular disease or high blood pressure, high cholesterol in general is what we're looking at in this case, they really need to reduce the amount of cholesterol that they end up taking, especially from animal sources. So this is one of the reasons why it would be reduced. An egg white offers 4 grams of protein and 16 calories, and no fats whatsoever. So we do have to consider that it has some very good lean protein. The egg yolk has 5 grams of fat, and 2 grams of those are saturated fat. So that's 8% of our daily amount. And you have to consider it. Somebody who has high cholesterol needs to be careful about the kinds of fats that they introduce into their body while they're trying to cleanse their body. So whereas a single egg white has lots of folates and selenium and calcium and magnesium and phosphorus, it's got all kinds of really good stuff. If we put that together with the egg yolk, we're getting the right amount of cholesterol if we take one egg yolk, but we can have all kinds of extras of the stuff that the egg whites provide, especially if we need a higher protein without the cholesterol. This is one of the reasons why we might have more egg whites than egg yolks. Another thing is, somebody had mentioned, I remember seeing this question last week as an email, talking about amino acids, saying that the egg yolk provides the amino acids that allow us to digest the protein. This is not 100% true. The egg whites do contain all kinds of amino acids, including alanine, isoleucine, serine. I mean, there's a whole array of them, right? There's lots of amino acids that are available in the egg white. The other thing too is, we're not looking at amino acids to break down the protein. We're actually looking at specific enzymes that break down the protein and give us the amino acids. So you can still break down protein even if you don't have an egg yolk. The only thing is, the egg yolk contains all kinds of fat-soluble vitamins like vitamin A, D, E, K, there's lots of them. These you can also get in other sources, and we're not necessarily eliminating all egg yolks forever. So it's really important to consider that the egg yolks and the egg whites have very different properties. You can digest the protein from an egg white. We very often, if you end up having one egg yolk and one smiley for egg yolk and 3 smileys for egg whites, we're probably saying, just add more egg whites to your omelets if you're going to have them in the morning, because it's very important to consider what is a healthy diet for a person at a regular time. That's hopefully going to clarify things for that.
I think it would be fair to say you've clarified that extremely well, Daniela. So thanks for going into the detail for that. And I know that detail is very, very important for some people. And the most interesting thing about PH360, of course, is that we're all very different. And some people want to understand every single bit about the science behind it. And there's so many why questions that pop up all the time. Whereas other people are very happy to say, look, I'm just looking for a result here. I really want to go ahead and use PH360. I understand there's been so many people that have completely changed their health outcomes, and we're seeing such amazing testimonials now coming through the Facebook profile, even from people, from just a week or 2 weeks of using PH360. And again, PH360 is not some fancy new product. It's not some new supplement line or anything like that. It's just information. It's just personalized information, helping you understand what is right for you. And it's great to be able to hear you break down that for the people who do really need to understand, because it is important that you do understand what's behind the system for a lot of people, to be able to trust it and to be able to have credibility that shows that enables you to follow this and really get a health change yourself. So thanks for going into that. And that is probably almost the #1 question at the moment going around on Facebook or on emails or anywhere at all, is the egg white versus egg yolks and egg powder. So thanks for clarifying that one straight off the bat. That's fantastic to hear. So we've got I'm just going to keep on moving here like we have so far. We've got Martha Hohenather, who sent in an email from us. She signed up for PH360 and she was concerned that she's only eating vegetables, tends to be hypoglycemic, and was told by doctors years ago, be sure to eat plenty of protein. So the PH360 has eliminated proteins, or has a low protein diet for her, and she's has other things that she's mentioned in the email, but she's just any suggestions on that for her. She feels fine physically, but she knows that she's got some excess weight to lose. So would you be able to just give us some insights on, for people maybe who are limited down to a vegetarian style diet, and how that may look for them?
Absolutely. There are several reasons why PH360 might completely remove proteins. It could end up being risks of rotting in the intestine, especially if people have maybe a long gut and slow digestion, and we're seeing that there are certain concerns in that area, that we want to cleanse the gut essentially and just make sure everything is going to flow properly before we start integrating things that are a little bit harder to digest. And certain proteins especially take a long time to digest. Another thing is uric acid deposit, which leads to gout. If somebody might have some of those risks, we might want to eliminate the proteins. And there's quite a few factors. So you do have to consider that PH360 is putting so many things together that it is seeing either a current condition or a future condition. And it's basically helping prevent what might happen. So allowing yourself to go through that cleanse is an important factor to be able to prevent something that might happen later on. And that's essentially the whole goal of PH360, is it's putting everything together and working on thousands of pieces of algorithm, more than what any brain could do. So we're not looking only at what you have now, but possible future trends. the idea that a vegetable only diet doesn't satiate would probably anger every vegan and vegetarian out there, because of course it is possible. And I'm certain that PH360 has given this person, I can't see her profile, but I'm pretty sure that she has all kinds of other nuts and seeds, or vegetables, carbohydrates. I mean, just because proteins have been eliminated does not necessarily mean that everything has been eliminated, because we're not making you fast. We're just making you choose the right choices for you. So making sure that you get the right nutrients for what you need at this time and for the future. So if she is having some belly fat, maybe what I would probably consider for her is to use up all the 1 and 2 and 3 smiley foods that are available there, because sometimes we're looking, I've noticed some of the questions that have come to me via email, they'll say that they don't have anything, and they actually don't have any 4 or 5 smileys, but they have lots of 2 and 3 smileys. Do look at all the smileys as a available food. It is really on the to eat list. It's just a matter of importance and choices, right?
Awesome. Well, that's such an important piece of information to point out again, Daniela. And I think, I don't think there's ever going to be a risk of us saying this too often for people listening in. And hopefully some people have already heard this a lot through the Facebook group or on the previous webinar. But even just what you touched on there about looking at the different smileys and how you need to be having them a good variety, and even a lower smiley count means that you just need to have variety. It doesn't mean that you can't have the foods. It just means you don't have them too often. So that's really quite important. And probably the second point on that, I just want to make sure that everybody's really clear on, is that to jump from what you have been used to. Let's say if the person's been used to eating foods that are more breads and cereals and high in fats and meats and lots of other things, and you jump straight to a vegetarian style diet, what PH360 is just showing you is what is the best for your body right now. It's not saying that you need to go cold turkey within the next 2 hours. You have to change every single thing right here, right now. And so we really encourage you, if you've seen some of the videos with Diana for the virtual support, if you guys don't have access to the virtual coach videos, there's a virtual coach video series that you're able to get, which is really, really fantastic. And that really gives a lot of understanding about the importance of changing your behavior. And it's a really a difficult conversation sometimes for people that have a significant change in their diet, like going vegetarian, almost vegetarian from someone who hasn't been. But take your time with it. Don't rush into it. Don't jump into it. Don't feel any pressure around it. Maybe have a look at your foods to avoid list, your frownies, and try and eliminate those first. Try and eat the better star foods, the 4 or 5 star foods, but there's no pressure around it. So give yourself a few weeks, give yourself 4 or 5 or 6 weeks if it takes you that long, or maybe even longer if you need it, to transition into what's right for you. It's not something you need to go cold turkey. There's not any pressure from us. So don't ever feel like you need to freak out or jump up and down about how restricted it is. It's just giving an insight about what your body needs right now. Then it's up to you to integrate that into your life. And always slow changes are usually something that's a lot more achievable for a lot of people. So thanks for explaining that again in a lot of detail, Daniel. It's fantastic. We're going to talk about some rices here. We've had quite a number of people talking about rice. And so we're going to jump in. We've got Kathy, who's sent something in on Facebook and on email about rice and about almond ice cream. Of course, we've had a couple of questions about that too. So we're going to kind of throw that in here. So Kathy says she's got a few questions about things that seem like contradictions. So she's allowed to have long grain rice, which are 4 smileys for her, but no white rice or whole grain or brown rice. She should be avoiding those. How does long grain rice fit in these parameters? If there's some sort of definition or something we can understand about rice for starters that you might be able to help us clarify?
Okay, sure. And possibly what we can do also to help people is really make clear definitions of the rice types that are out there, so that it doesn't cause too much confusion. And we are looking at trying to explain some of these answers that come to people as we progress along and try to make it more user-friendly. So hopefully things will get clarified. But in the meantime, I think it's important to understand that whole grain rice refers to rice that has the bran, the germ, and the endosperm. So it's the whole thing all together. White rice is refined. So it is not everything together, and it's sometimes bleached even. And white rice is generally kind of on the no list just because of the process that it uses. Short grain rice is more starchy than long grain rice. So we might If somebody needs to reduce the starches, we might reduce the short grain rice and promote the long grain rice. So there's various reasons for which we use certain types of rice and others. We also have to consider that if we put baro rice or jasmine or something, we might actually be looking at the nutritional contents of those specific rices as well. So there are differences in the rice types, and this is something that might help people understand.
That does clarify that for people, and hopefully that's answered your questions there, Kathy, and a number of others who've asked the questions about rices. And just the second part of Kathy's question here, because a few people have mentioned this too. Also, she has 4 smileys for almond ice cream, but she's supposed to avoid cold foods. That seems like it would be difficult to do. And then she's got one last thing that's about coffee and decaf coffee for 4 smileys. So if maybe just the almond ice cream, if you could just tell us a little bit about almond ice cream. Some people are very appreciative, by the way, of actually having some sweet things in there. So if you could just elaborate a little bit on that for us, Danielle, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah, we did think that it was kind of important to put some of the sweets in there just to be able to balance it out, because otherwise it feels like torture. And I think I did receive an email about somebody saying, well, when is this diet going to be fun again? So we do have to think about things being fun. But when it comes to ice cream, you'll notice that everybody's points on ice cream go up in the summer or in the warm months and down in the winter, in the cold months, just because of the way it affects your body temperature. There's other kinds of sweets and treats that we can put in the winter. So almond ice cream and cold foods will tend to go up in the summer. Now, cold food in general, in this case, is really in the prep section. So it's how to prepare your foods. And perhaps what we can do is also clarify the sweets are more like treats. They're things that you can have that are nice, that are sweet, that are to give yourself a little bit of a pleasure. They're like desserts, but we're kind of considering them a bit different from all the prep stuff. So when we're talking about cold foods, we're talking about taking things from the fridge and eating them because it slows your digestion. And that's part of your meal. That's something that's going to stay there that needs to be digested. Whereas the ice cream is just that kind of treat that you can have every once in a while. So we distinguish that and allow cold foods to stay low because we're transitioning into the summer. It'll go up in the summer for sure. But in the meantime, it's a matter of when you're having cold foods like a salad, that's cold food. And that's the way we've considered cold food in terms of preparation. And the ice cream is just a separate treat.
Okay, fantastic. Well, thanks for clarifying that too. And just I guess a notification for some people. You may notice, depending on where you're living in the world and where you're dialing in from right now, or where you're listening to the replay from, there's certainly a lot of weather that's starting to change. And we'd always encourage people to be logging in regularly and updating your measurements, because you may find that you've had quite a number of changes with your actual foods that are suggested, considering the different temperatures that are around you, as well as the current state of your body. So just a side note there, please also make sure that you are logging in to update your measurements so that you can have the most accurate food profile for you at the point in time. And just once again, the benefits and the huge power of pH 360 is it's not just a diet, it's something that actually changes with you and for you. And so your foods will actually change as you change, as the seasons change, as your body changes. All these sorts of things will actually change the foods that show up for you. So please encourage you guys to log in, and you can just click on update in your profile, and it will go through and talk you through how to do your new measurements, just like you did when you first logged in and did your assessment, and you'll get a brand new set of foods. And we've had some fantastic comments on Facebook and from emails coming through, just with people very appreciative and amazed at the power of how pH 360 can actually update your foods as you go. So thanks for clarifying that, Daniela. And the last little bit of Kathy's question here, which again, everyone's always interested in this as a hot topic, is coffee. So the last one is coffee for her is 1 smiley, but decaf coffee is 4 smileys. It seems like it might be a caffeine issue, but green tea is 5 smileys, and that has caffeine in it. So I'm confused about the whole coffee decaf thing. So if you could talk us through the whole coffee decaf caffeine thing with teas and decaf coffees and all that sort of stuff, that would be absolutely fantastic.
Absolutely. It's not common to have it like that, but I can assume that the reason she has coffee, no, but decaf, yes, but green tea, yes, and so high would be for the crash factor of coffee. So coffee does provide you caffeine, but it seems to be much like some sugars with a high glycemic index, like white sugar, will give you a high glycemic index and allow you to crash. And oats, which they still have sugars in there, but they're just more long chain and they don't crash as much. The caffeine in coffee seems to give you a peak, and some people even get the jitters. They get so much caffeine in their system, but then a couple hours later they're more tired, whereas the green tea is more long chain, so to speak, when it comes to the caffeine and stimulation, and then allows you to drop more slowly into a more relaxed state. So green tea's caffeine is generally better than the coffee's caffeine, even though they both have caffeine, just because of the type of caffeine it gives you. The same with energy drinks. It's a very peak kind of thing, like having a chocolate bar, versus having something that is more of a piece of fruit that gives you more of a bell curve. Now, the other thing, too, is green tea and the various teas, they have all kinds of nutritional factors, antioxidants and whatnot, that go into the algorithm. So it's possible that green tea got bumped up for health factors that have been researched and studied that promote the use of green tea for preventative measures. So it could be that we just bump that up regardless of the caffeine and the stimulants in it because of the health benefits it provides.
Yeah, fantastic. I think that's really actually a point that most people aren't aware of, actually, Danielle, is that there is different types of caffeine, and that's really important to know. And I think that may help a lot of people with their whole coffee and green tea debacle. And again, guys, just to remind you, if you are someone who's been drinking a lot of coffee and had a lot of caffeine and you're very, very used to that in your system, you don't need to go cold turkey. It's something that you can just wean yourself off over a period of days or weeks, months if you have to head in the right direction here. So again, there's no pressure here to act on this information overnight. You can take as long as you need to integrate it in, and of course the pH360 system will just be able to provide you with what your body needs right now. So the sooner that you get to that point in time, the sooner your body is benefiting, but that process is really, really important. So thanks Daniela for covering that again. That's a great question, and one that a lot of people are always looking at. So Daniela, we're going to jump down to a question here we've got about sugars, and people saying about sugars being on the list, but aren't fruits full of sugars? Because this is a great question that's a very hot topic actually at the moment, is sugar. And in terms of the conversations in food, I may have mentioned this last webinar, but food is almost like the new religion. Everybody's got their opinion, everyone's got a comment. Whether we're extremely educated or not educated, everybody's kind of got something to say about our diets and foods and what's going to be great for us or what's not great for us. Whether it's a juice fast or a paleo diet or Mediterranean diet or a no carb, low carb, high carb, high protein, low protein, no protein. There's so many different diets around. It's always interesting. So one of the hot topics is sugar, and this is an interesting conversation right now. Sugar's being made out to be the bad guy quite significantly in the media. And again, interestingly, just like fats were not long ago, fats were the bad guy for quite a long time, and now there's a lot of research out there showing that some fats are important to have back in our diet. I think this is the same sort of cycle we'll see with sugar, that sugar is now being made out to be the bad guy and the root of all evil and destruction. So it makes sense when we hear sugars. We're eating lots of fruits. Isn't that sugar, and isn't sugar bad for me? So we've got a question here from Diane on Facebook that says, can we only make fruit and veggie drinks out of our list? I assume there's increased amounts, but more than the list recommends. My third question, which is the one that we're talking about here, is fruit is full of sugar, and I am to have no sugar. So just want to see if you can elaborate on some of the that for us. So
we're focusing on fruit has sugar, even though I'm not allowed to have sugar. Now, most people have some form of sweetener that is at least a low glycemic index type of sweetener. So I would want to check her profile. But in general, yes, fruits have sugar, but it's not just any kind of sugar. It is a fructose. There are some fruits that have very high amounts. There are some fruits that have low amounts. It's different types of sugars. So some fruits will give you a glycemic peak and other ones will not. So if you've had sugar removed and high glycemic index sugars removed, you've most likely had high glycemic fruits removed, and things are balanced out, just the way the algorithm works. The other thing too that's important to know is that very often when we're talking about sugar is bad, it's the new heroin. We're talking about white sugar, refined white sugar that goes into your system. It's got a 100 GI, so glycemic index, very, very high, peaks you up, lets you crash. It makes you retain fat, makes you retain water. It has all kinds of negative effects in your body. But to avoid sugar completely would actually be dangerous. Your brain feeds off 80% sugar. And so it's very important. This is why we have carb cravings sometimes when we're stressed out and we're using our brains too much, and we might go for some chocolate bar or something like that we would want. You do have to have sugar in your body to be able to survive. Your brain especially needs a whole bunch of that. And so it's just a matter of knowing what is a good sugar and what is a bad sugar. And pH 360 will help you know what is the right type of sugar for you.
Fantastic. And that's a very good clarification and distinction, that your pH 360 is so intuitive that it actually calculates this for you. It understands about the whole fruit and sugar debate. And if you are needing to avoid sugars, it will naturally eliminate a lot of those for you. If sugars are very healthy for you in the context. And of course, as you say, sugar is so important for all processes of our body, not even just our brain, that it's something that's factored in. So eating healthy fruits and vegetables that are right for you is very, very good. And healthy fruits and vegetables that aren't so right for you is obviously the aim of pH 360, to help you guys get some clarity on exactly what's right for you right at this point in time. So Danielle, I'm just going to jump to a question about 5 smiley foods. We have a question that comes from Sherry Starr. Thank you, Sherry. And something that concerns Sherry is the foods with 4 or 5 star smileys that are not available where they live. If you can't get them, does it mean I'm not getting all the nutrients that I need? And how does that actually work?
So what we do have is a very international list. We're trying to put all the foods that we can find internationally. So it is possible, in fact, very likely, that you might not be able to find certain foods in your local environment because we have foods that are common in Australia or Zimbabwe or wherever else. So we do consider that. It is an international food list. But please understand that the way the algorithm works is it will say, oh, this person needs vitamin K, so give me all the foods highest in vitamin K. But they have high cholesterol, so reduce all the cholesterol. But they need vitamin D and calcium, so add all the foods that have vitamin D and calcium. However, they're gluten intolerant, so remove those foods. And it does this if, then, else, but over and over and over again for all the various factors that we need, and comes up with the top foods for you. And that's what the 5-star foods would be, is the top foods. They met the most criteria. 4-star means, smiley would mean that they've met 80% of the criteria, and 3-star means they met 60% of the criteria. They're still meeting the criteria, which is why it's important to also consider the 2 smileys and the 1 smileys, because it's a matter of the variety. Having a little bit of everything still means that they're meeting what you need, and they have the nutritional components that you might need at that time. So if you cannot find certain 5 smiley foods in your area, it's okay to go to other ones and look at everything that's there and have them in the quantities that are more or less suggested. So obviously the 4 smiley foods should be eaten more frequently than 2 smiley foods. That's the guidelines that we're basically trying to present.
Okay, fantastic. That clarifies that a lot. And again, at the bottom of the food, there's always foods to suggest, or suggest a food link that you can recommend foods that maybe in your area of the world that haven't been coded yet. And the amazing Daniela and her team and all the nutrition gurus will actually go through and make sure that the foods are coded into the system that will be able to show up in your profile. So please be aware that does take some time to do. It's not just a really easy job. So thanks for your patience on that, but we'd love for you guys to suggest foods as we come, and we shall integrate all those things internationally. And again, we appreciate your patience, that we're so new and so early, and we're so excited to have this available for people, that if there's a food that isn't showing on the list, then please let us know, and we'll make sure we include that as soon as we possibly can.
That's right. That's right. And it is also important, however, to know we're not going to be doing brand names of foods, the various types of cereals that are out there. We're really looking at the whole foods. But I've actually learned that there are certain foods, and the reason I mentioned Zimbabwe is we have people in Zimbabwe right now listening in and telling us about foods that I've actually never heard of, but they're very common there. And so we're learning more about these things and integrating them as well. So there's a lot of food out there. The world is full of variety, but let's focus on whole foods, nature's foods, as opposed to brand names.
Yeah, that's a good clarification, and that's that was always an interesting discussion when pH 360 is being put together. Is how much do you include? There's databases that have 20, 30,000 different foods listed, but they're all brand names. And so you might have brand name X of this cracker and brand name X of this cracker that's gluten-free, and brand name X of this cracker that has added pepper, and brand name X of this cracker that has so many different things. And so really to help people understand that PH360 is going to be listing certain things, I think some of the more interesting comments have been things like mushrooms. And while we're here, Daniela, I don't know if you can just maybe comment on that as an example, but there is a lot of different types of mushrooms that exist. And we've gone through and made sure that we're very specific on how much difference is there between the different types of mushrooms that are available that might make the difference if we're cooking them, or the nutritional value. How important is it to differentiate between those, and how much it would affect the person's health and livelihood, versus if we're able to just put down mushrooms, for example, in one of those areas.
Well, when it comes to the mushrooms, we did have a few discussions about this, just because there are lots of medicinal mushrooms out there, but we are not putting medicinal items into the food list. Those would have to be considered separate if we're making teas and the concoctions based on medicinal items. That's not quite what we're doing with a diet. So when we're talking about cooking foods, we're talking about cooking mushrooms. So generally that would be something like button mushrooms. Those white button mushrooms are going to be in there, and that would be a very typical type of mushroom that we would have, separated from the truffles, for instance, that we do have in there. But we can't put every single type of everything in there. The example that I've used before is there's over 7,500 types of apples in the world. We're not going to code 7,500 different types of apples. They are similar enough in their nutritional properties to be able to lump them up as one item called apple. Same thing as one item called pear, same thing as one item called banana or whatnot, right? So unless they have very different nutritional properties, such as berries, we can't just put berries. We have to put cranberries and strawberries and blueberries and blackberries. They're very different. And so those were separated. Going back to the egg yolks and egg whites, very different nutritional properties, therefore they are separated. But if they're very similar nutritional properties, we would lump them up together.
Excellent. Well, that clarifies perfectly, Daniela, and thank you for making that really, really clear, because that is such an important distinction. And there will be a lot of things that will be listed that seem like lots of different types of apples and mushrooms and things like that as well. So thanks again for clarifying all this. I'm hoping everybody listening is finding this absolutely fascinating and learning lots as we go. So we're going to keep on ploughing through. We've still got so much to get through here. So we're jumping to, we've got a great question here from Linda Spear on Facebook that's asking about allergies and food sensitivities. And she says, when I take the foods that I'm allergic or sensitive to, when I put those into the PH360 and it excludes them, which are all foods that trigger migraines that she used to get, here's what she's left with. And she's listed out a number of different things in vegetables, fruits, meats, grains, drink sections, and it's quite restrictive because it sounds like she's very allergic to quite a lot of things. Would you just be able to, and one of her questions is, this doesn't seem like it's enough to live on with the frequencies or the amount suggested. So should I increase the amount or the frequency? Would you just be able to give us a comment there for people who do have things that are quite excluded because of allergies?
Yeah, this person has lots of allergies, sensitive to all fruits, nuts, and dairy, which is a huge chunk of what is available out there. So I would definitely say increasing the amounts and frequencies of the foods that are on the allowed list is absolutely okay, because we are talking about what's the most important, and PH360 cannot see what you're allergic to. That's something that it is a limitation. So you must be responsible for your own allergies. That's not necessarily a genetic predisposition. That is very often environmental. It could be many other factors related to that. So allergies are something that PH360 cannot predict. You need to determine that. If you have so many allergies and sensitivities, then just consider that this algorithm, which is blind to your sensitivities and allergies, has still looked at what is the most important foods for you. And if you can't eat it, go to the next one, look at the ones that you're allowed to have, and use the smileys as importance factors. So 5 important factors versus 4 important factors instead of 5 smileys and 4 smileys. That way you can understand what is the most important for you at this time and what should be avoided, because those things that are need to be avoided should still be avoided regardless of your sensitivities.
Excellent, and thanks for mentioning that. And that is an area that's always of interest and has been a large amount of interest for us. is the allergies and sensitivities. And so that's why we have the section. And unfortunately, at this point in time, we're not able to accurately predict your allergies and sensitivities, which is much more of an environmental influence and figure there, as opposed to a lot of the other epigenetic integrations that come in with genetics and things like that. So we're very much looking forward to adding that in the future. But for now, we very much require you to list down your allergies and sensitivities. So please make sure you do go through and look at that in more detail in your profile. If you're shown foods that are listed in pH 360 that you aren't able to have because you are allergic or sensitive to them, please go back into your profile and actually add those to the section that shows allergies. If there's something listed that you are allergic to, we ensure that we don't want you to eat that. So if that does show up, you can go back and put that in and it will exclude that out of your system. And again, just to clarify, making sure that if it's something like you put in soy and tofu shows up, then please go back and exclude tofu from the list. So that's just reminding you guys again there that that's a requirement for you at this stage, to making sure that you put your own allergies and sensitivities in there that you've been diagnosed with or you know of. And this is through people who've had testing that's been done through other medical doctors or professionals, or people who've had a very bad reaction to allergies or sensitivities. So thanks for clarifying that. And Linda, hopefully that clarifies your question. Please enjoy eating a lot more of those foods at the moment. So we're going to jump over to Esther Baku. Thank you, Esther, for your question. And this is about being hungry. And we've had a couple of different people that have been saying how hungry they are. And again, I just want to make sure that everyone really understands that this is a transition into your optimal lifestyle. The cold turkey can be quite difficult, but this is just to clarify her. She asks about, since starting the program 10 days ago, I think this was maybe a week old now, but since starting the program 10 days ago, she was always hungry. I have loads of options, eating plenty, but still hungry. I suspect it's because I'm not allowed any fats. And prior to pH 360, I consumed a lot of healthy fats. So the hunger, is it because of the no fats, or could my metabolism be on the rise, and how would I know? I'm already protein heavy on the program, which I enjoy. And so that's just a question there from Esther. If you'd just be able to give us a little bit of insight to that, Daniela, and because everyone's so different and hunger can be from different sources, I was wondering if you could just help out with that.
Absolutely. She said that fats wouldn't necessarily give you satiation. It doesn't fill your stomach like carbs or protein would. Fats allows you to absorb all kinds of minerals and vitamins, especially fat-soluble ones. So very important to have healthy fats in your body. People who do fat-free diets need to really adjust that, because there's certain fats that are very important, especially for hormone development. But I do think that if she's having lots of proteins in her diet, then she should be able to feel full. Some tricks that she could have would be to possibly have some proteins in the evening. It takes longer to digest those proteins, so she would end up being able to keep herself satiated overnight and not wake up super hungry. But also, not eating too late at night is a good trick for not being starved in the morning, because if we eat late at night, our body is working on digesting that food, is active, and then crashes in the morning. Otherwise, if we finish eating early enough, we end up going through a very natural fasting process. And that's why we have the breakfast, which is actually called break fast. We're supposed to break the fast that we've been having overnight, and you have a healthy breakfast. So you shouldn't be starved in the morning, and certainly not at night. You should just be comfortable throughout the day, eating what you need until you are not hungry anymore, not so that you're so full and bloated and you're expanding your stomach. You should just be eating until you're not hungry anymore. When you're hungry, you need to eat, and you shouldn't be feeling starved and deprived when you are eating healthy. That's certainly not the goal that we're having here. Other things that you could do is having something warm in the evening, something that is cooked or baked. This generally helps increase the body temperature, soothes the system, and very often when we're cold, we want to fill our bodies with something that is more nutritious, because cold tells our body, pack on the fat and bring it all in there. So having something warm can generally soothe the body and give it a sense of satiation. Drinking. Some people don't drink enough and they feel hungry when they're actually thirsty. So have a glass of water, a giant glass of water, and wait a little bit. If you're still hungry after that, go ahead and eat. You should be eating because it means you're hungry. But if you're not hungry after that, it could have been that maybe you were very thirsty. I'm trying to think of what else would help. Sometimes people think so much about their diet. They're thinking and thinking about the food they want and about the grocery list and about what they have to have and what they can't have. And don't think about the red ball. Don't think about the red ball. And what are you thinking? You're thinking about this red ball, right? So sometimes thinking so much about the things we can't have on our diet that we're restricted from makes us hungry and craving for those exact things. So it should be easy. It should be fun. Keep yourself busy. Have some physical exercise, because mental stress, as I was saying before, requires a lot of sugar. So we get cravings, but physical exercise, go outside. It's becoming, we've got beautiful weather out. Well, most people do anyway. So we could, enjoy the great outdoors, and that all helps with hunger.
Excellent. Well, that's a lot of great suggestions and great tips there, Daniela. So thank you so much. And hopefully everybody listening in, whether it's live now or whether it's on the replay, can really enjoy a lot of those tips to help with any hunger if you're experiencing it. And once again, this is a number of times that we're saying this, but don't feel like there's a pressure just to jump from what you have been doing to something completely different. Because if you do have a large amount of health processes that are going on in your body that may not be great for you right now, then PH360 may limit you with a lot of different options that are there. And it's doing that to be able to help create health and restore health in your body. But what that seems to us when we're just looking at a screen is like, wow, how come I can't eat anything? I'm going to be starving. And so really just encouraging you guys to make sure you take the time to transition into what is right for your body. It doesn't have to be something that's done overnight. And where you talk there, Daniela, often if we're going from something that we're used to eating a lot of sugars or a lot of processed foods, there's a lot of salts, there's a lot of sugars, there's a lot of other things in there, refined sugars especially, that can have us feeling like we need more, that are very addictive. And so to transition from that into something that's a much more healthy and natural diet can be something that's quite difficult for the body to adjust, and can have some withdrawal, some side effects that some people may feel, with headaches or feeling tired for a couple of days. And a number of people do experience those sorts of things for a couple of days before that actually transitions, and that's part of the detoxing period for some people. So just be mindful of that. And again, with PH360, if you do have a health concern or a health issue or diagnosed medical condition, please always use PH360 in conjunction with your medical professional. With any lifestyle or diet change, you always want to make sure you're keeping your medical professional in the loop. And we have designed PH360 to work alongside as an assistive tool with any medical or health professional. So please make sure that you do that. We really want to encourage you guys to use that, so that you can be the most healthy you could possibly be. And especially if you do have a diagnosed medical condition, we want to make sure you're getting the most appropriate care for you at that point in time. So thank you, Daniela, for clarifying that. We're going to jump to next question about raw. So we've got a question about raw versus cooked foods and the measurements and serving sizes that come up. Are we talking about raw foods? Are we talking about cooked foods? If there's measurements about I can have 6 tablespoons of long grain rice, is that raw or is that cooked?
Generally, the measurements are the raw measurements. It makes it easier for when you are preparing your foods to be able to measure out the raw things before you actually cook them. So we're not just talking about 6 tablespoons of cooked rice, but raw rice. That actually makes it more because it floats up. So yay, it's a benefit.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. So that was an easier question, which is nice. So we're going to jump down. Nice for you, Daniela, that is, to actually not have to go into so much detail. We're going to jump down here to a question from Facebook. Tracy Thompson asked a great question. What causes dark circles under eyes?
Dark circles under eyes can come from several different issues. One of them could be circulatory problems. You could end up having hyperpigmentation. That would be a genetic factor. Sun exposure. Some people end up getting lots of dark under eye circles from stress, alcohol, smoking, physical irritation to the eyes. Gosh, I'm thinking about all kinds of things. Kidney imbalances, lots of salt. There's many different factors that could be related to under eye circles. So if somebody has under eye circles and feels like it's troublesome, or either being well hydrated, reducing salt in the diet. I mean, PH360 would be considering that, because that's why we have it as one of our questions, is we do consider this as an important factor. So it's already integrated in the diet. But in addition to that, a cold compress can be very helpful. That's why we talk about the cucumbers on the eyes and such. The reason we talk about cold compress is because it reduces the pooling of the blood around the eyes, which causes dark circles. So essentially dark circles, you can also get them when the skin underneath the eye gets very thin and basically transparent, which is why it's more noticeable when we age than when we have plump, beautiful baby fat all over our skin. As we age, that kind of diminishes, and so we get the dark circles under our eyes. And what we want to do is reduce the amount of stagnating blood in there. So that's why the cold compress is very known. The other thing is hydration and keeping the collagen up and making sure that our faces are nice and young. Getting lots of sleep and reducing the stress is, of course, a huge factor in maintaining a healthy, balanced lifestyle, which is, of course, what we promote. It's pH 360. So these are the factors that I would put outside of the diet. But inside the diet, it's already considered as part of the diet. And it could be several different factors. So it's really hard to just identify just one or two things that we would do. It's, yeah.
Excellent. Well, that's really helpful with a couple of extra suggestions there. And probably one thing to point out, Tracy, from your question as well, is some things take time to change in your body. And it's many things take quite a long time to replenish or replace or revitalize or regenerate in your body. A full blood cycle can take about 3 months. So don't necessarily expect changes always within 2 days or 2 weeks or something like that. For things that have been around for a while, they do take a while to adjust in the body. So there are those things that Daniela mentioned that can really help facilitate those changes and facilitate that healing. But also be aware that some things can take some time, and for you to be in the right space for your health will certainly help you remedy these sorts of problems. So hopefully that helps answer your question. And that's a great question, Tracy. Thank you very much for that one. Daniela, we're going to come down to, let's see who else we've got here. So many. Sandra Sapanara. This is a great question, actually. So Sandra's talking about not wanting to lose any more weight. So Sandra says, I need to gain weight. I lost 50 pounds due to illness and still losing, so I can't afford to lose even a pound more. What should I do? How does this work with pH 360?
Well, weight is something that, there are very normal standards related to weight. In addition, pH 360 adjusts those normal standards based on biotypes and constitutions. So some people who have a bigger frame, we're considering that, and we know that that might be normal for them versus a smaller frame. So we don't use standard normalities that everybody is the same. We actually adjust them for the biotype specifically that they need. So we know if they're underweight or overweight. But pH 360 would know if you're underweight. And if you're underweight, then we would actually adjust the diet. Now, what we would end up having in a diet is all the good foods that you would have. That's what the smileys are there for. So it's considering the nutritional value of all the foods. I bet you anything, if I were to go into Sandra's profile, and if she's underweight, I bet you anything she's got lots of nuts and seeds and healthy sources of fats. She probably has carbs that allow her to bulk up. Yes, that's right. If you're a bodybuilder out there and you're eating only protein, that's not the right way. If you want to really bulk up, carbs are a great way to bulk up. This is why the carb-free diet is very popular for people who want to slim down. Because carbs, what they do is they provide long-chain nutrition. So they allow your body to really absorb many things. It's incredibly healthy. And we need to be able to have those to actually regenerate some of the muscles that we have. So I bet you anything she's got carbs and proteins and cheeses and other things that are very healthy. And very often what we would say for people who are underweight, who need to look at the important foods that are there for them without necessarily looking at portion sizes, is we'll let them know that in their food tips or healthy eating tips. I'm sorry, I'm not sure off the top of my head which one, but something that would allow them to know, go ahead and look at these as importance factors, not necessarily portion factors. So go ahead, eat your fill, but these are still the foods that you need to eat, and these are still the foods that you need to avoid.
Thank you, Daniel. It's fantastic to clarify in that way. And Sandra, hopefully that helps with some confidence for you there. pH 360's got your back, no matter if you're looking to lose weight or gain weight. So please go ahead there and enjoy the selections that's intuitively chosen for you, because pH 360 does intuitively know that about you once you've put your measurements in, and we get a representation of your phenotype. So very, very cool. I like it. So Daniela, keep on moving through these questions, and you are absolutely amazing with the knowledge that you have. I absolutely love these webinars that we're doing with you. Hopefully,
Drive out.
enjoying it. For those who are listening in, if you are enjoying it, please feel free to pop some comments in and let Daniela know how amazing she is. So we're going to jump to Emma Price, who's talking about foods being restrictive. And this is a great question here, actually, for which goes a little bit different to some other people, where a lot of comments that people are putting in, they're really excited about. They've done things for a little while, for a week or two, and they notice that more foods are able to show up on their list. Emma's question is the opposite, actually. So she said, I'm about to start week 3 on the program. I've already lost a fair amount of weight and inches, which she's really excited about. But if anything on her list gets any more restrictive each week, it seems like she's allowed to eat less and less fruit, but doesn't seem to be gaining any foods anywhere. Of course, this is something that people look forward to. So she's losing weight, she's losing inches, which is a great thing for a lot of people. And but she's still got to, fruits are less and less for her. I was wondering if there's anything or anyone who's actually perhaps a bit further ahead of her in the program that can reassure her that actually will get better, and she's not going to be on a gluten-free, dairy-free, alcohol-free, fun-free diet for the rest of her life. So that's a great question, Emma. I really like that. And first, congratulations. I'm glad that you're heading in the right direction. And Daniela, if you could just give us some insight for that. And again, as we know, this will be the case for some people. Won't maybe less common than other things, but it will be the case. So if you could just maybe shed a little bit of light from your perspective here, that would be fantastic.
Oh, I feel sorry. I want to give her a big hug when she's thinking fun-free diet. Healthy eating can be so much fun. I think people will benefit in different ways. Perhaps she could have a health coach that will kind of give her some tips and tricks to it. Some people can benefit from a community and just sharing diet stuff with somebody else. Having somebody who's also on this, basically, it's not even a diet. It's just picking the healthiest foods for you. So it's really being healthy. But we're very used to processed foods and having chips and alcohol and going to the pub and having our chicken wings and fries and things like that. And I'm sorry, I'm not going to say that those are healthy choices. If we're going to cheat on it, just understand you're cheating on health. But if we're going to give you the healthiest choices for you, yet those can be a lot of fun, especially if you play around with recipes and you play around with the spices that are allowed and come up with new things and have maybe a dinner party with somebody else and trying to see how you could match the recommendations that are there for each other, because most likely you're in the same season because you're in the same locations. There's lots of things that are the same, even though you have very unique things, one person having specific needs over the other. But if pH 360 is restricting your diet, please understand it's because it's probably seeing there are certain factors for which it needs to restrict your diet. So whether it is a health risk, or whether it is a request to lose weight, or whether it is a desire to stay healthy and maintain health, and we're therefore trying to prevent something that could be more serious because we're seeing it in our predictive algorithm. That's the whole purpose of pH 360. So trust the fact that if it is restricting your diet, is for your own benefit, and the better you stick with it, the sooner you're going to see all the cool stuff come back in, because it means you're healthy. So it is kind of a reflection of your state of health at that point. But it's not supposed to be torture. It's supposed to be a lot of fun.
That's excellent. Thanks, Daniela. And just again to encourage Emma there. Emma, that's absolutely fantastic. Sometimes when we lose lots of weight straight away, we think that we're getting healthier. We associate weight loss with health, and very, very often that is the case. However, sometimes it just takes a bit longer for the internal health processes to settle down before you actually reach that normalized period. So just be aware that even though you have lost quite a number of inches and lost weight, that's absolutely amazing. It's fantastic, and you've done so well for that. It means that internally you're still fighting a few processes that need to change to get you healthy on the inside. So it means that maybe likely you are still going to lose even more weight than what you have lost so far, which will help out with those processes of inflammation and other things that may be present for you. So yes, stick with it. You're doing so well.
And I just want to mention that very often we end up losing water weight first. That is usually the thing that we'll end up seeing disappear in the first couple weeks. So that's why it's very important to consider a lifestyle change. And eating healthy foods is really about making a choice to be a healthier person, because we're not just trying to yo-yo diet here. We're not doing a 3-week miracle diet and now all of a sudden I can eat everything I want. It is really about knowing what's the best for you at that time, always. So that's just an important factor to keep in mind.
It is. Thank you, Daniela. And just to I guess recap that in a full effect, PH360 is insights for you. It's advice for you. It's a lifetime program that you can access and you can see all the time. It's not something that's a diet and, oh, gee, I have to stick to this. Whatever's shown for you is what's right for you right now. And you can go ahead and update that in a number of weeks' time, and you can have a look and see what's right for you then. So it's almost like an ever going refreshing diet that's there for you, that just gives you an indication as to what's right. It's not one diet you stick to, and it's not hard work. If you are good with your body and you're good for your body will be good to you, and you'll be able to eat things and process different things that maybe 4 weeks before you weren't, or 8 weeks before you weren't. So hang in there. That's you're doing such a fantastic job, Emma. So well done. Congratulations so far, and congratulations to so many listeners right now that have taken such big steps, that have made huge efforts to change their health and their life, even in the past few weeks or past few months. We've got users that are coming up for over a year. I spoke to one the other day actually that was saying he's been on PH360 for almost a year, and he's just been absolutely phenomenal in the results that he's had, and everything from not just toning up and muscle bulk, but actually through brain function and even where he's going in life. So
that's
very,
awesome.
very exciting. There's a lot of so many testimonials. So we really appreciate if anyone is listening in and you guys have an amazing testimonial to share. We'd really love you guys to send that in an email if you've got something to write. If you get excited and carried away, we'd love to have a video testimonial from you if you're finding it really, really exciting, if you're getting some great results really quite quickly. Because what that does is it means that we're able to help more people, because I guess the terminology that people use is social proof. And if you're trying something or wanting to try something for the first time, but you don't know anything about PH360, you don't know what it is, you don't know if it's right or if it's not right, to be able to see a video from someone else saying, hey, I also had no idea about PH360 either. I tried this and it's absolutely fantastic. I've been learning lots about it, and look at me and look how it's changed my life and changed my health. That really helps a lot of people, other people, to be able to take steps in the right direction to use PH360 as well and get the improvements that they need in their life. And again, because our mission is so large, we really require so many of you to help us. This isn't something we're going to achieve by ourselves. We really need to have this be an organic growth, and for people to share this with friends and family and those that really need it. So we'd absolutely love to have some testimonials from you guys if you do feel interested to share those with us. And we'd certainly thank you in advance very, very much from the bottom of our hearts if you're able to help us spread the word about health that we are. So thank you again. And Emma, congratulations again. And for all those out there in Emma's situation, congratulations, guys. It's a great, great effort. Now, Daniela, jumping down to Roxanne Flintoff, we have, who has commented just a question about the questions here. I had kidney stones twice, but over 23 years ago. Do I need to list that in my profile, since the way I've eaten the last 23 years have not produced any more? The 2 incidences followed 2 pregnancies, if that's important. Thank you.
Okay. We do prefer a yes answer to anything that is said, have you ever? Because essentially what it is an indicator of your genetic tendency. Not everybody gets kidney stones. People have a genetic tendency towards getting kidney stones, So this would be an indicator that helps us. And it's just important to know, so that essentially you do want to reduce the oxalates in your system if you've had kidney stones. Now, if you're convinced, you know what, this was like a one-off thing because of whatever, I had this medication and that medication caused it 23 years ago, never has anything ever happened, then no, it could have been that the medication really caused that. So this is up to your discretion. PH360 will know whether or not it's super important for you or not, because essentially what happens is the predictive algorithm will look at your phenotype and see whether or not you have a risk factor in the first place. And then when you answer something like, yes, I've had kidney stones, or no, I don't have kidney stones, it kind of confirms and strengthens that predictive algorithm or not. Those are some of the factors that we end up using. So PH360 is a very intelligent algorithm. I'm very proud of the scientists and researchers that put it all together. And I know that even though it's very, very important to give the best answers you can, be as right as you can, be as accurate as you can on those questionnaire answers, but there's always a margin of error in which PH360 is not going to go wrong just because something has been said wrong, unless it's completely like, well, I'm gluten intolerant, how come I have no gluten? Well, sorry, you did tell us something, so we did have to adhere to what you said. But in this case, I can definitely say I would prefer seeing a yes answer to I've had kidney stones. If you said no, we're probably going to help you prevent kidney stones anyway.
Excellent, and that's amazing. Again, the science and the power behind PH360 does blow my mind almost every day. It's absolutely, it's amazing. The experts and people internationally have been involved in PH360 and still are. It's just we're so lucky, and I'm always so grateful for them and for everybody who gets to benefit from all this amazing knowledge that is always going to be improving into a more usable capacity as we go. So that's thank you very much, Daniela, for sharing that. We're going to jump to Carrie Walker, who's got a great question about growing your own foods and what to plant. This is this is quite good. This is Carrie on Facebook. Perhaps I just need a crystal ball, but maybe there's an answer. It's finally spring in the northeast US, and I'm planting a veggie garden. Fortuitously, before ever even hearing about PH360, I started bok choy and spinach plants, which are all 5 stars for her, and romaine and beets, which are all 3 stars, and having grown them in her small greenhouse. Less luckily, I also have some frownies in there like kale and a lot of other cabbage family seedlings that she started her garden off now. So she's looking to say, I'd like to plant some snap or snow peas now, but they're frownies. Will this change before these would be harvested? So should I plant fewer peas, etc., and use the space to plant all smileys? She asked if anyone else is dealing with this dilemma, but maybe you could give us some insight there for Carrie, just if there may be a reason why those sorts of the families of cabbages and things like that may be reduced, if there's any insights you can help her with.
I think that if you're really concerned or you're really confused, go ahead and ask a question to a health coach or to PH360 staff. We'll be able to look into your profile and see specifically for you why something has been removed or why something is encouraged. But essentially, I could estimate if she has kale and cabbage and all those cabbage things removed, bet you anything she has hypothyroidism or said she had hypothyroidism. That's one of the reasons why kale gets removed or cabbage gets removed, because it's such a good food. Unless you have hypothyroidism, then it's a definite no-no, and it gets way taken off the list. So that's usually what happens. I can put my finger on it. In that case, it's not going to change because those foods will reduce the thyroid activity. She has hypothyroidism. She cannot eat cabbage. But if you can plant as many 5-star foods, or 5 smiley foods as possible, that would be great. And 4 smileys. And if you see something that you planted that's a perennial and you've made all this effort and it's a 1 frowny, well, see if it changes. But I would definitely say try and stick to the 5 and the 4 smileys as possible.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Daniela. Very, very cool. So that's thank you, Carrie, for that question too. That's fantastic. It was good to see you very, very active and proactive in your health there. Fantastic. Thank you.
Can I say that anybody who wants to grow their own veggies in their garden is definitely doing themselves a favor, because that's what we're encouraging. We're not looking necessarily at having the stuff that has been imported from thousands of kilometers away, but farm fresh organic foods are the best. And if you can do it in your own backyard, you're doing yourself an amazing favor. So let's try and get some more of those gardens out there.
Absolutely. We encourage that 100%. So thank you for those that are really taking that much of a proactivity in their health. And it's really, really cool. This is long-term sustainability that we're always searching for. It's such a great way to achieve that, and such a very exciting way for us to be able to see so many people that are taking this into their own hands. So thanks again for the questions, guys. Daniela, we're going to jump to, there's a question here on Facebook from Linda Schuen. She's asking, when updating our profile, do we change answers to all the questions, like the amount of dairy we're now eating? And so the question there is, if we first logged in and said we're eating quite a lot of dairy, and we answer the questionnaire again 4 weeks later, we're not eating much dairy because dairy's been eliminated, what do we actually put? Do we put what's current, or do we put what we did previously? How does that work?
The more you update, the better it is for you. So if you've actually changed your lifestyle and you are now exercising more, or you are eating differently, or you are you've changed your job, you've changed your location, you've changed something in your life, absolutely go ahead and update that questionnaire, not just the measurements, and let us know what's going on with you in your life, because that's part of who you are right now, and that helps us create that algorithm for you for your unique needs right now. So we don't want to stay with saying, oh, I eat cold cuts all the time and now you don't anymore. Well, we're going to consider the fact that you're not getting those nitrates in the same way, for instance, or whatever else, right? So yes, do change it for whatever you're changing in your life.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. And Danielle, I'm just going to give you a 3-second breather because we have had you non-stop with your brain working overtime for the last hour. So thanks again so much for that. Feel free to grab a quick sip of water as you would need it.
Got my jug of water right here.
So that's fantastic. So just while you're there, I just wanted to bring in something for the listeners and the guys at home or guys watching this in the replay. We've got just wanting to refresh an offer that we've got on the table at the moment, and this is to do with something you probably see pop up in your webinar browser right now, a personal health and healing retreat that we're going to be running in June. And this is an absolutely amazing retreat. This is really something that I'm looking very, very much forward to. This is a retreat that I don't run for the public. This is the first time we're ever going to have this available. We're having an exclusive 10-person retreat that's going to be in an amazing private estate, a 5-star estate in Bali. And this is June 21 to 28. We have 10 people only. We're going to have a whole host of healers and health professionals that are going to be there. This is a full review of everything that exists for you medically, through to health professionals, going through musculoskeletal assessments, looking at your bones, looking at your joints, looking at your nerves, looking at alignment of your muscles and your imbalances and balances. We've got energetic medicine practitioners, spiritual healers that are going to be working with us, personal chefs to cook every meal personalized for you, activities that are there, whether you're doing a beach session that's a power plyometric session if you're more fit and active versus someone who might be doing some breathing exercises or some light Tai Chi, depending on where they're at. So there's a fully personalized retreat with hands-on bodywork sessions done a number of times a day. And this actually means I'm going to be doing personal treatments myself with you. We've also got the amazing team that's going to be working on you every single day, a number of times throughout the day. So this is an absolutely amazing transformation for those that are looking for a little bit more than just pH360, that need a good helping hand with a lot more health or medical issues, or for those that are very proactive who wanting to make sure they're operating at their highest frequency. So I'd really encourage you guys to check that out. There's a link that you're probably going to see on the webinar right now that you can go and have a look at that. It is an exclusive spot, and we've got an exclusive amount of people that we're going to have, and there is only a couple of spots left. So for those that are interested, feel free to email us, support@ph360.me, if you're interested to join us on this amazing retreat. And again, I think I might have said this last week, but if I was actually not running it, I would attend this myself. It's going to be that amazing. There's going to be massage therapists, physiotherapists, osteopathy, acupuncture, energy therapies, aromatherapies, a lot of body work, and just so much amazing content that really looks at the holistic picture of all of us and our health and healing. And this is something that we're delving into the depths of, not just the physical and some of the things that we talk about here, in a tangible way. We're talking about something physical, something food, but also how that influences and affects our mental capacity and our mental function, our emotions, and also our spiritual selves. And for those that are needing a bit more of a transformation than just pH360 alone, I'd really encourage you guys to check this out, because I'd love to spend some time with you personally, and I know the results you're going to get from this are going to be absolutely amazing. So feel free to check that out, guys, if you're interested. And that's something you can go and engage with, support@ph360.me, if you want to learn anything more there. I'd just love to quickly also take the time to show you there should be something else that will pop up in your browser here in just a second, that actually goes through personal health coaching. And this is something where Daniela's doing an amazing job to cover so many questions. But with pH360, we've really designed this as a system that gives you the information to better look after your own health. If you need to engage in more detailed, more specific information, then we very much are wanting to make you aware that you need to talk to someone who's a qualified medical or health professional. The medical or health advice that you seek, if you do have a chronic disease or a diagnosed medical condition, you really do need to be seeking advice there. And we'd encourage you to be working with your own medical health practitioners or medical professionals. And if you don't have one, or if there's someone that you're looking for something different, then we have pH360 health coaches that are available for you. And so if you're interested to learn more about that, you can go ahead and click on the link, and you'll be able to see a bit more information about what actually happens with a health coach. And this is really something that can help you transition in, if it's a medical capacity, or just for those that are really finding it difficult to get started, those that might need some more motivation or inspiration to actually help keep you accountable and help keep you encouraged and motivated to get the results that you're looking for. So that's just another thing that is there for you. So go ahead and click on that on Learn More now if you want to open up another tab that you can either look at now or look at after. And the final thing that I will just bring up here for you right now is going to be the course that we're having in next weekend. It actually is on the 25th and 26th of April. You'll be able to attend a live course for any health professionals that are listening in right now. You can go ahead and have a look at or email support@ph360.me for more information about the course. I do believe that the actual entry may be closing or pretty soon in the next 24 hours. So if you're interested, please go ahead and have a look at that in more detail. But there will be an offer here for those that can't attend the course, because we understand that there's a lot of people internationally that can't travel. This course will be running in Idaho in the USA, in Boise. For those that can't attend that for travel reasons or for anything else, then we'd love to have you access the information and the learning yourselves. There's an offer here that you can actually go ahead and pre-order that, which will finish at some stage very soon, I believe, before the course actually starts, for only $97. The course is usually $697. We've extended an early bird offer on the last webinar. I'm not sure if that's still going, but I guess, sorry team if I'm saying something I shouldn't here, but we'll go ahead and hold that open for anyone who still wants to make it to the Boise course for $497 instead of $697. You'll see when you try and register on the website, it says $697. So go ahead and contact support@ph360.me and just say that Matt said you could ask for $497 and I'll get in trouble, and that's okay. And if you can't make the course, click on this link here to get a full uncut video recording of the course that will be delivered to you within 7 days of the course being run. So that's a way that you can access all the amazing information when you go through. This is predominantly for health professionals that want to learn more about PH360, about the science behind PH360, and really understand more about the concepts and how it slips into life, how they can integrate it, how you can use it with clients. But I guess also for people that are really wanting to know more about how they can be involved or become a lot more understanding of the science behind PH360, then we'd encourage you to go ahead and check that out too, even if you aren't a health professional, but you're very proactive in your knowledge and in your areas of research. So that's some other offers there, guys. So thanks for going ahead and checking those out. If you're interested, please feel free to get in touch. Again, the easiest email is support@ph360.me. So that's where you can engage in more sessions like that. So Daniela, if you're still around and rehydrated, we're going to jump back into some things here. We're going to try this again. We tried this last week, which worked really, really well, and we had some great feedback from it. We're actually going to log into a few people's profiles live now. I know we're running out of time, as we always do, because we could probably make this webinar another 16 hours, and we'd find it quite interesting. Everyone else will probably fall asleep and die, but that's okay. We're going to jump into some questions here just to talk about some of the real life situations that people have brought up in their own profiles. Again, guys, this is where the personal health coaching comes in to be so important. But because we've got Daniela here now, we're going to try and log into a few different areas. So Daniela, if you can just bear with me for 1 minute while I see if I can change this around. I'm just going to see how we go here.
Mm-hmm. Where are you logging into? If you can just give me the name, then I can see it myself as well.
Excellent, I can do that. We're going to log into Cindy Kramer, Kramer.
Thank you.
And thanks for your patience, guys, while you're actually watching this. Again, for those who are watching, this will be a hidden password, so you don't have any concerns about privacy. You can always change any of your details or passwords at any point in time that you need to. But we're going to log straight into here. Okay, and I apologize, Cindy. I'm just going to go ahead and click on OK here with all of your profiles. So when you see that one come up, you can skip that one later. Okay, so we are into Cindy's account here. Let me just have a quick look. So Cindy's questions are: I have some confusion about my grain recommendations. I have 4 happy faces for long grain rice, 3 happy faces for brown rice or whole grain pasta, 1 happy face for arborio, jasmine, sushi, and jasmine rice. This makes sense, but then on the grains to avoid, I have 3 unhappy faces for white rice, 2 unhappy faces for gluten-free or whole grain pasta, and 2 unhappy faces for whole grain or brown rice. So would you be able to talk us through what's going on there, Daniela?
You know what? I don't even have to look too much into her profile to know that we're most likely looking at the way white rice is being processed, some of the stuff that we talked about, the fact that white rice is very often a low-grade generic brand. Brown rice is also kind of a generic thing, so we might specify what kinds of rice it is. In her case, most likely black rice, wild rice, purple rice, long grain brown rice are some of the first choices that you would have. By the way, jasmine and basmati are types of long grain rice, so they might just be considered very separate just because they're nutritional components, but they're still long grain rices. And so she has 4 happy faces for long grain rice. Those are still considered, but there's also industrial forms of basmati and lower grades, and so we've just put everything together. But I'm looking at pasta. Yeah, it's probably related to some of the processing that is being used, and we just want for her the healthiest whole grain, the healthiest good forms of long whole grain brown rice as possible.
Excellent, thank you. And it's great to see and interesting for some people on their profile. We talk about gluten-free bread as something to avoid as well, because most people have the perception that if there's breads, the bread might be the bad guy, but gluten-free bread is good, or a good option. Again, with similar sorts of things with pastas, it still amazes me how powerful this is to be able to say, hey, even though gluten is something that's avoided on most of your list, some of the gluten-free options still aren't great for you either, and that's quite a great thing to see. Excellent. So Daniela, we're going to jump over to, let me just quickly see if there's anything else while we're here for Cynthia. Cynthia also asks, why no coffee or apples or chickpeas, actually? Okay. So, my husband is a hunter. I don't see any venison anyway. So, and also the shellfish, which we covered in depth, I think, last week. So actually, I might get you to mention that again. So sorry to jump around here, but why no coffee or apples or chickpeas is the question for...
Okay. So coffees, because I was just kind of looking at that one first. In her case, it was reduced because of stimulants. All her stimulants have been reduced. So she's not going to see too many stimulants in general. But it's also because I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say this, but she has colitis. And so we had to reduce the acidity that might have an effect on colitis. And we did want to make sure that she stays hydrated. Coffee specifically, but caffeine are diuretics, and she needs to stay really hydrated. So there's several reasons why coffee was reduced. Chickpeas were reduced for very different reasons, for the estrogenic effect of chickpeas. Also a metabolism. Their chickpeas can be very hard to metabolize and promote gas and digestive disturbances, and so they were removed for specific reasons for her. Apples, because of a pH imbalance and some of the types of acid, the malic acid that it has, and so different reasons for that as well. Okay,
cool. Well, thank you, Daniela, again for that. And Cindy, hopefully that's helpful for you. Again, it's nice to hear about the answers for you. And again, for those listening in to Cindy, the reasons why yours might be reduced, or you may even have the same frownies or same stars or smileys showing up, will actually be different for you than what they are for Cindy. So that's very cool. Now we're going to jump down to, who have we got here? To so many people here. David Nethercott we have here. We're going to jump into David. Just give me 1 minute to actually log out and bring this up. For David.
I like the fact that there's a man. I've been noticing that there are so many women registering and asking questions. I don't know if it's because the men who are participating are shy or because we have predominantly women, but I gotta say, I'm kind of happy to be able to hear that there is a question from a man.
Well, David, you've been called a man, so thank you so much for your involvement here in Pet 360. Okay, this is some great questions here from David. So I'll just read these out for starters. A couple of questions. Question 1, I could find no dialogue on water, volume to consume, different types, chlorinated, tap filtered water, etc. We covered this a little bit in the Facebook group. Just quickly on that, I guess the water that you're trying to drink needs to be from a healthy source. Tap water can have many different contaminants, many different issues So we always encourage fresh filtered water if it's possible. You can get that through bottled water. There's obviously issues with the actual plastic itself with the water. There's a lot of research that's coming about that now. And so if you've got a great filter available for your tap at home, that's always one of the best options for you to be able to achieve some really heavy filtered water that's very, very healthy for you. And so without going into too much detail on that today, Daniela, I guess just to encourage people to be drinking, their 1 to 2 litres of water on average a day, is there anything you wanted to go into in any more depth there? I know that is a conversation we've had a number of different times on that one.
Honestly, I mean, yeah, we didn't really consider water too much because people do need to drink water. It is never going to be taken off the menu. It's always going to be with a bunch of smileys on there because we need to stay hydrated. At least 1 to 2 liters, I would say, would be an average amount of water needed for the day. Of course, if it's really hot and you're doing lots of exercise, you need to have more water than if you're, But if people are very interested in having specifics about the type of water, we can definitely calculate that. It's just a matter of putting it together for you because pH 360 is fully capable of knowing whether or not you need to have alkaline or acidic. Well, you wouldn't have acidic water, you would have more neutral water versus alkaline water, which some people are raving about, but it's not good for everybody. There's also mineralized water and oxidized water, and there's so many different kinds of water. You're very right. So if people are very interested in that, then we can talk about doing that as a future feature and looking at it because pH 360 is fully capable of doing that.
Excellent. Thanks for sharing that, Daniela. And that was just, I guess, an allude into that for people to help share with you something that is in the pipeline and coming at some stage soon. So hold your horses and thanks for your feedback. We will be able to give you more insights on water soon. But for now, we recommend you drink your 1 to 2 litres of water a day. Please make sure you do stay hydrated. It's very important, especially if you are updating or changing your diet or the foods that you're eating, and if you're exercising more regularly and all those sorts of things. Please do keep your water intake up. And again, the best recommendation there is if you do have filtered water at home and you're able to have a great filter that does take out a lot of those hard minerals that are not so great from the actual tap water, depending on the country that you live in, of course. So thank you, Daniela, and thank you for the great question there, David. That's a great one on water. Second question from David: I do not drink any hot drinks, but I love my ice cold drinks, non-alcoholic, just like my mother, who's 87 years old and still going. My recommendations of pH 360 are against any drinks below room temperature and to eat hot food, not cold. Why is that? And David also asked about any research and things like that that's available for that. And I know we have got a number of, like a whole host of a database of research that's available for this sort of stuff, which we may be able to post in to somewhere at some stage. But even if you can bring up the database, then you might be able to give some information for David right now. That's possible. So if you could just answer that question first for him through his profile, and then maybe we can see if there's any way we can get some of that research to him if he's interested in reading about it.
Sure. I mean, there's all kinds of journal articles talking about the effects on digestive function. In general, if you think paleo diet, you think being close to nature as much as possible. We're not talking about ice cubes that come readily from the fridge. We're talking about room temperature water. That really is nature's way. So the healthiest thing that you can do for yourself is room temperature and above. And we're not talking about hot because we're not trying to burn your esophagus and your mouth palate or anything like that, right? We're not talking about drinking boiling water, but room temperature, which is what we call warm, is the healthiest way to go. Now, room temperature and warm foods and drinks help with the digestion of fats. They help with just keeping the body temperature up. You don't want to put too much cold necessarily into your system, especially in cold weather. So in the colder months, we would definitely reduce anything that would drop the body temperature. And in the summer, we would promote things that drop the body temperature because we would naturally want to cool ourselves down. So cold drinks might go up in the summer and cold foods will come up in the summer. We do want to be able to make sure that we have an endurance against the heat that will come up. So cold is not necessarily bad. It's about for whom and when. That's the essence of pH 360. So if this is coming in the colder months, it's most likely best to reduce any intake of something that comes straight from the freezer with ice cubes and all over the place, and really consider room temperature or somewhere around that just because that is what's better for the immune system, for the digestive system. That's generally what we're going to be talking. Yeah.
Excellent. And what I might see if we can do, Daniela, is even if it's possible, if David's listening in, or for those that need to, we can go ahead and maybe just paste a couple of links in the chat box at some stage, maybe not right now, but at the end of the webinar, which is going to be coming up fairly soon. So for those that are interested in some of the research just on David's questions there, we can post that into the message box. So stick around for a few minutes after the webinar finishes, and you can grab those links. Otherwise, we might put those up on the Facebook page. And there will be a whole section that we're currently building out in the ph360.me main page that talks about science and a lot of the research that's behind that. So you'll be seeing a lot of links there very, very soon to a lot of the evidence that's available for everything behind ph360. ph360 is an evidence-based platform, and it's a very progressive evidence-based collaboration and collation of a lot of different sciences and medicines, as you guys are hopefully aware of by now. So just another question that we have from David here is, I do drink non-sugar diet drink with phenylalanine. Again, research to support, or is it specific to my genotype? I do not have PKU.
I'm not sure what a PKU is right now, but what I can say is diet drinks very often contain aspartame and artificial sweeteners, and this is why they're taking off the menu. If you are creating your own diet drink because you have your own things, or you have something that's super healthy, organic sources, certain brand names that are out there, that might be okay, but that would mean that it's including all the items that are on your food to eat list. The reason diet drinks are taken off is mostly because of the chemical properties that go into that.
Right, thank you. And the last question here from David, I have a very strong spiritual knowing, and as such intend all food to my benefit, telling my body to eliminate non-helpful and tell me what it needs if required. To what extent does research support such higher consciousness intent? That's a fantastic question, David. It would be another whole webinar in itself that we may not get through tonight. But let me just share with you very briefly in terms of intuition and what our body feels to do with foods. And the very brief answer there is that often we have a great feeling about what's right for our body, but often our brain can also be very confusing and play some tricks on us at those particular points in time. And because our intuition and through our subconscious, we can have this information, this knowing, this this feeling about what's right for us. Sometimes our brain and our neocortex, obviously, that is involved in the action of this, can come into play. And an example for that might be if you feel, if you've had a stressful day and you just feel like eating a block of chocolate, or you just feel like a glass of wine. That's something that you can very strongly feel, and people will say, I actually need that. I need to have a glass of wine. If I don't, I'm going to freak out. And that's something that people will be very, very strong. And the feeling that's there and the intuition connection is actually true. And the reason why people will necessarily want to feel that is they may be looking for a hit of like a hormone like serotonin. And serotonin's a happy hormone and will actually have you feeling a lot better. So you may go and eat a heap of chocolate, you may have a glass of wine, and you may have a serotonin hit that comes from that, which makes you feel better, you feel happier. Your terrible boss or the stressful day you had things will go away. And so intuitively, your body may know that it wants that because it's going to make you feel better. And so you might just really feel that's such strongly that you need to eat that, and it feels like it's right at the time, and you can justify that at the time. What's actually the case for your body is your brain is seeking serotonin. It's not seeking chocolate and it's not seeking wine, but it just associates chocolate and wine with that feeling because that's what it knows and that's the experience that's there. And so in that example, most often you might wake up the next morning and go, oh no, what have I done? I just ate a whole block of chocolate again. Now I feel terrible. And now I'm going to have to go on the diet again to get rid of this. So at the time we get that serotonin hit, but it wasn't actually a healthy choice for us and for our body. And so there's often a bit of confusion between our brain and our body sometimes, and especially with our subconscious and our connected conscious selves, about what is actually a feeling and what's strong intuition and consciousness, if you like, conscious eating, versus something that is a food or a feeling or an outcome that our brain is seeking. And so there's plenty of examples of that when it works in your favor, and there's also plenty of examples like I just shared there where it may work against your favor. And your body and brain often, unless you're very, very connected and very, very aligned, sometimes it's hard for us to differentiate between those actual states because we do honestly feel like that, and our brain actually knows that that food will be good for us at that particular point in time because of the outcome it needs. But sometimes it may not think longer term. And so hopefully that just very, very quickly answers your question in a short way. And I'd love to have a further discussion on this in a lot more depth at some stage in the future. So David, thank you so much for your questions there. And Daniela, thanks so much for getting through those questions with us. I've just realized where we're sitting at this point in time, and it's we've been going for a good hour and a half already. So we're going to have to actually wrap this up at some stage pretty soon, unfortunately. And Daniela, it's just always such a pleasure to have you with us on this on these webinars, and I really think that it's something that we can continue into the future. That people are really enjoying the amazing insights that are coming from PH360. Being able to listen into these webinars, whether it's live or on the replay, people are understanding a lot more about the depth and the amazing amount of depth and science that goes into their recommendations that just show up. And even though there's just foods that appear, they can really understand what's behind this and how much is really showing up for them in the research and extensive research that's been done for PH360 over the last decade. And so if there's one thing I can leave everybody with from that side of the fence is, please be rest assured that we have an amazing team that's been working on this for so long. Hopefully you can see just from some of the conversations and the language with Daniela and the things that she talks about, that we do certainly have a lot of knowledge and a lot of amazing support and science and evidence-based research behind this program. This is 100% for you. We're doing this to change world health, as we talk about, and so it's not a light mission that we're embarking on here. This isn't something that's just another a business that's out there to try and make money. This is actually legitimately to help you change your health, and so we really appreciate your support in that matter and sharing this with friends and family so that we can actually help achieve that mission. Because we really need your help to be able to achieve this. And Daniela, I just wanted to again say thanks so much for joining us. We really appreciate your expertise and your time. I know you're extremely busy and you guys are just doing amazing things with PH360, and the fact that we can actually have this available in a tangible format like this that we can look at and help change our lives is just so inspiring, and we're really excited to be able to bring this to change health and move forward in that aspect.
I love what I do, and I love being here. I love answering these questions, and I really enjoy the fact that people are getting good results in PH360. So it's a pleasure.
That's very cool. And for those listening in now, or for those that are getting the replay, we've actually got another amazing webinar tomorrow with the fantastic Rebecca Morrison, who's going to help talk about integrating PH360 into our life. And actually really understanding, we've really got caught up a lot in the first two webinars with Daniela on the science and the why. And really, why is my food showing this? Why is this here? Why can I do that? And a lot of the whys and a lot of the science. And we're going to really just take a step back a little bit and understand what PH360 is all about. And PH360 is all about your epigenetics and all about the things, just a little bit including foods, but things outside of just our foods alone that often will make such a huge difference to our health. These are things like our personality, things like our mind, our social interactions that we have, the careers that we do, the natural talents that we have, the things we spend doing with our time, places that are fantastic for us to be living and understanding what's great for us and what's not so great for us, the exercise and activity that we do. There's so many important factors and important parts involved in PH360 that it's not just foods alone. And often we get caught up in the foods and why are my food showing this and the science behind it, which is why we've just really wanted to take a couple of webinars to talk through this with you guys so that you can really understand some of the power behind it. But the webinar with Beck tomorrow is going to be just such a great step backwards to look at the perspective and how we can actually engage people in the bigger part of their health. Health is more than foods. It's really important to understand that this is the case in that bigger picture to really improve your health. And for some people, changing just your foods isn't going to be enough. And we want to make that very, very clear, that stress in your life or living in a cold place when you should be in a warm place, if you're sitting behind a computer being an accountant when you should be out being an artist, these are things that significantly impact your health and often have a bigger impact than just your foods alone for different people. So looking forward very much to that webinar with Beck tomorrow. It's going to be very insightful, and Beck's going to be able to take us through literally how PH360 works with your life, how to integrate things, how do you look at the bigger picture outside of just changing your diet. So that's going to be really, really great for people to be able to integrate that in a lot bigger capacity. So we're so blessed to have so many amazingly talented souls working with us at PH360. And on that note, we're always looking for super passionate people to join forces in what we do. So if you are interested and inspired by personal health and PH360 and you like to be part of our ever-growing community, we really encourage you to connect with us, support at ph360.me. Let us know a bit more about you and how you'd like to be involved and why, and we'd love to have a conversation with you. So just to finish up again, a huge thank you to all the ph360 team. You guys are all amazing. And the biggest thank you to all of you for listening in. And for those, again, live, we appreciate so much the time you put aside for this. For those that are listening to the replay, we appreciate the time you've made to listen to the replay. You're all amazing, and we're so proud that you guys are taking such a great step towards your own health. The replay will be emailed out to you guys that have been on this call and for those that registered. And we encourage you to register for any future webinars so that you can actually get the replays into your inbox or join us live. We're going to try and avoid spamming people all the time with all our webinars. So please go ahead and register so you don't miss out on all this amazing information. Please leave any messages as you have been in the comment section as you've been going. We will try and get to all your questions as much as we can. As you can see, there's a lot of questions that come from a lot of different people. We're doing our best to get to all of them for you, and they're always becoming. So thanks so much for all your engagement on all your different levels, and we shall talk to you very soon. So thanks again, Daniela, for joining us, and we look forward to keeping in touch.
Thank you, Matt, for inviting me.
Cool. Thanks for joining, guys. Talk